They say there's a stretch of road outside my hometown, Black Hollow Road, where people vanish, not all at once, not in a way that makes the news. But if you ask around, someone always knows someone who's gone missing near that forest. I didn't believe it either, until I ended up there myself. It started on a cold, foggy night last October. I was driving back from my brother's place halfway across the county. Google Maps glitched and rerouted me through a back road I didn't recognize. The sign said Black Hollow Road. I laughed when I saw it. I thought it was kind of ironic, in a cool, creepy way. I had no idea that I'd stepped into the story. A thick fog began to roll in around my car. My headlights barely cut through it. Trees lined both sides of the road, pressed so tight together they looked like living walls. Then I saw it, a tall figure, standing by the tree line. All the proportions were wrong, the limbs too long. I thought it was a Halloween prop someone had left out to scare drivers. But then it turned and followed my car, not moving, just watching. I sped up. My signal vanished and the GPS blinked out. I should have turned around, but every time I thought about it, the road behind me seemed darker, heavier, and I didn't want to stop. And then I heard it. Not a howl, not a scream, a clicking sound, like wet bones snapping coming from all around me. Something darted across the road in front of me. I slammed the brakes. It wasn't a deer. It was on all fours, but the limbs were wrong, bent backwards. It didn't run. It crawled, fast, too fast. I sat frozen, staring at the place it had crossed. Then I saw the trees move, not from wind, from something breathing. The car wouldn't start. The windows began to fog from the inside. A shadow passed behind me, and I swear I felt the weight of something huge shift the ground. I was too scared to look. Then a whisper, not from outside, from inside the car. It said my name. I don't know how I got out. Next thing I remember, I was driving on a normal road again. No fog, no figure. But the next morning, there were long scratches on my car door, not claw marks, finger marks, 5 of them as if made from a large human hand.
I take the same trail almost every day. It's a quiet path on the edge of town, not exactly hidden, but not busy either. Mostly dog walkers, the odd jogger. I like it because it's predictable, safe, familiar. My dog Luna knows the way so well she could walk it blindfolded. She always runs ahead, nose to the ground, tail wagging like it's the highlight of her day. There's a spot with an old log, moss-covered and worn. Luna always stops there, sniffs, looks around like she expects something to be there. I never think much of it. It's just part of our rhythm. We were about half an hour in when Luna bolted. No bark, no warning. Just a blur of fur diving off the path into thick underbrush. "Luna!" I called. No response. The wind rustled the leaves, but otherwise, silence. A weird kind of silence. The birds had stopped. Even the insects. I started getting nervous after 5 minutes. She never runs off for that long. 10 minutes passed. I circled the area, calling louder now, heart pounding. Then I heard the crunch of leaves. Luna emerged, tail low, panting. She had something in her mouth. It was about the size of a grapefruit. It looked grown, like it had sprouted straight from the earth. Wood twisted around pale chunks of bone and what looked like teeth. Not quite human, but far too precise. There were strands of hair stuck in the crevices. Thin, long, tangled. One side was soft, papery skin like a mummified face. The other half was more root than anything else. Luna whined when I tried to take it from her. She held it like a treasure. I had to force her jaws open and fling it deep into the woods. She whimpered the rest of the walk. I couldn't sleep that night. Not because of the thing. I told myself it was probably some creepy piece of art or someone's twisted Halloween prank. The world's full of weird stuff, but Luna couldn't settle. She paced. She growled at corners of the room. At around 2 a.m., she sat bolt upright and began to snarl, low and guttural. I turned on the lamp. It seemed dull, as if something was absorbing the light. Suddenly, the shadows in the room seemed to writhe as the light shone as bright as normal. The bulb must be on the way out, I thought to myself. I decided to walk somewhere else the next day. A different trail, deeper into the woods on the other side of town. Less maintained and unfamiliar. Luna was still on edge, but I figured new scents might help reset her focus. Half an hour in, she paused. Tail stiff, ears twitching. Before I could tighten the leash, she bolted again. When she came back, she had it. The relic, clutched in her mouth. Damp, bits of moss hanging from it. The bone was cracked now, the hair longer. This part of the woods felt different, older. The trees seemed wrong, thicker, leaning inward like they were listening. I felt watched. I didn't want to touch it again, so I found a stick, hooked it through the hair, and flung it, hard, into the trees. It hit a branch and got caught, swinging grotesquely. Bits of moss and skin fluttered in the breeze. I watched it hang there like some forgotten shrine. Luna whimpered. We kept walking, deeper than I'd meant to. The trees grew denser, taller, like they were arching over us, trying to keep something in. Or maybe keep us out. That's when I heard it. A thud. Heavy. Deliberate. Not like a squirrel. Not like a deer. Something upright. I spun around. Nothing. Another step. Closer. Thud. Then silence. The air shifted. The kind of stillness that makes your skin crawl. I felt watched. I caught movement, just for a second. Something darting between trees. Not fast, not animal-like. Smooth, controlled. I picked up the pace, calling Luna. She didn't bark, didn't pull. She just kept looking behind us. I didn't run. Not yet. But every part of me wanted to. The path turned, and I could see the gap in the trees where the car sat, barely visible through branches. The moment I saw it, something in me snapped. I picked up the pace. Behind me, the trees creaked. Not from wind, from weight. Luna didn't bark. She didn't look behind us. She just kept beside me, ears flat. When we reached the car, I fumbled the keys. I almost dropped them. Then the locks clicked open. I shoved the door, and Luna jumped in first. I didn't look back as I slammed it shut. But as I started the engine, headlights cutting through the brush, I saw something. Not clearly, but enough. Eyes, too high off the ground, reflecting the light like a predator. Watching. Still. The trees didn't move, but the forest felt like it was breathing. Since that day, I've stuck to the local park. Daylight, crowds, somewhere normal. I don't go near the woods anymore. I tell myself it was just something weird we found, that it's over. But that feeling, like I'm being watched, it never really left. I was walking Luna near the children's area when I saw her. A little girl, maybe 6 or 7, sitting on the grass. She was brushing the hair of something in her lap. It looked familiar. My breath caught. I stepped closer, trying not to look obvious. It was the relic. Not exactly, but close. Pale skin, tangled hair. Something wooden twisted around it like fingers. Then the girl looked up at me. Her face changed. Her eyes went black, her cheeks sank. Horns, small, sharp, curling from her forehead. Her mouth split too wide in a grin far too calm. I blinked. She was just a kid again, holding a ragged old doll, laughing. I didn't leave the house for days. What was going on? I kept replaying things over and over in my head. The relic, the noises in the woods, the fear, the child. This sort of stuff does not happen. I am not in a horror movie. That was it. The stress at work, the late nights, I was on the road to having a breakdown. I'll take some time for myself and rest up, and it will all be all right. I don't know how many days passed, but one morning I felt strong and rested. It was time. Time I went back to where it all started. I leashed Luna and we went for a walk. It was all fine, the trees were the same as ever. I looked up to see birds jumping between branches. One more step and the birds all scattered, shrieking. I slowly lowered my head down and there it was. Lying in the middle of the trail like it had been waiting patiently. The leash snapped. Luna lunged. "No!" I screamed. Then I stepped on something. Not a rock, not a root, a hand. Long, gray, slimy with moss. Fingers curled like it had just finished digging its way out. Then it stood up. Thin. Too thin. With too many joints. It had no face. Just twisted roots, antlers. Something wooden that breathed. In its chest, embedded like a tumor, was another relic. Larger. Glowing faintly. It took a step forward. Luna ran. I ran. Branches tore at my clothes. Mud swallowed my shoes. It was like the forest itself was trying to stop me getting away. I didn't stop until I saw my car. I got in and slammed the door after Luna. The doors locked and I started the engine with shaking hands. I didn't look back. Luna didn't bark. She just lay there trembling. I sped home, but as I pulled up in front of my house, I saw it. It was there on my front step. How? I'd had enough. I picked it up, feeling it undulate against my hand. Thankfully, I'd banked the fire up before I left the house. I got it burning brightly again and threw the thing in the fireplace and watched it curl, melt, and blacken. The smell was horrific. Like wet dog, rotting meat, and hair. I opened every window to let the fetid stench out. As I did, I heard something large run into the forest. Luna won't eat, won't move from the back door. She stares into the forest like something's calling her. Sometimes I hear footsteps, not animals. Two-legged, pacing the yard. Sometimes I hear scratching. Sometimes I swear the trees move closer. I haven't gone back to the trail, but sometimes I see it. The relic, just at the tree line, waiting. I think we didn't just disturb something. We brought it home. And now it's part of us. And it's not done yet.
It started with a pin on a map. I'd been browsing satellite images of the nearby woods, just killing time, when I noticed something strange. A roof, barely visible through the canopy, like it had been swallowed by the forest. No trail marked it. No nearby roads. Just a small, isolated structure deep in the trees. Curiosity got the better of me. That weekend, I packed some supplies and hiked into the woods. It took the better part of an hour to reach it. The deeper I went, the more unnatural it felt, like the trees were leaning closer with each step. And then I saw it. A shack, slouched into the hillside, half covered in moss and ivy. The roof barely peeked above the ridge like it was hiding, or trying to be forgotten. I should have left it that way. The wood was brittle under my boots. Each step crunched over glass, rubble, and old leaves. Inside, dim light filtered through the slats in the walls. Dust hung in the air. Graffiti covered the beams. Mostly names, crude drawings, and a few disturbing symbols that felt more instinctual than deliberate. Broken beer bottles littered the corners. A collapsed metal cot was rusting into the floor. There was a mildew-soaked sofa with a hole in the center, and something dark dried into the fabric. It felt deserted, but not abandoned, like something had been here too recently for comfort. I stepped further inside, boots crunching over glass and pebbles. Then the floor gave way. I landed hard and gasped. The air was colder, dense, earthy. The scent of vinegar and rot clung to everything. I hadn't fallen into a basement. It was something older. A crude, handmade storeroom. Wooden shelves lined the stone walls, bowed under the weight of jars. Glass, yellowed, cracked, each sealed with wax or wire. And inside, remains. A lamb's head with human-like teeth. A deformed bird with 2 heads sewn to a single body. A jar holding what looked like an infant's hand, malformed, with 3 thumbs. One jar held only lungs, shriveled, black, suspended like dead leaves in brine. Some jars were labeled with scraps of paper. Correction attempt. Do not observe. Found in streambed. These weren't scientific. They were collected, or created. At the far end of the room stood a man-sized shape. Rough wooden planks bolted together, the crude silhouette of a human form, like a sarcophagus without elegance. No carvings, no symbols, just aged wood. Just cracked and stained with something dark, chains looped around it, not ritualistic, just hardware store links, hastily secured. It didn't move. But something about it made my breath stop. I didn't belong here. As I turned to leave, the ladder creaked under my weight. My hand grazed a jagged nail and I hissed. Blood welled instantly. Then came a sound from above. Scraping. Something dragging across the shack floor, followed by slow, deliberate footsteps. I froze, eyes locked on the sliver of light at the top of the ladder. Nothing passed by, no shadow, just that rhythm. Scrape, step, scrape, step. I climbed slowly, my heart pounding with each rung. When I reached the top, it was empty. But near the hatch, bones. Animal, mostly, I think. Scattered. Some split open, some gnawed, and one small enough to be human. A moan echoed from somewhere behind, the sarcophagus. I ran. I didn't stop running until I reached the car. I couldn't stop shaking the entire trip home. That night, I scrubbed the cut on my hand. I tossed the backpack outside. I didn't even want the dirt in my house. I couldn't stop thinking about the jars, the sarcophagus, the bones. I opened my laptop. Just curiosity, I told myself. I did an image search on the symbols. One led to an article about unofficial research sites abandoned during the war. Rural experimentation, field hospitals, strange animal mutations documented in parts of Germany. In one blurred photo, I saw a jar that looked identical. Same wax, same wire, same oily sediment at the bottom, and the same tag, Übrig, remaining. I never went back. I deleted the GPS pin, burned the trail map. But I swear sometimes, when the house is quiet, I hear a clink. Like glass, just nudged, from inside the walls.
Some things stay buried, others whisper back. Subscribe and listen closely.